Hi, this is Lady Lex UK, and this is part of my How to Make a Platformer series. In this tutorial, we're going to be making collapsible platforms. So let's just see what I've made so far. So I'll just possess my puppet, and I'll start jumping across here. As you can see, they're collapsing. If I don't make it across, it will reconstitute, and I can go again. Do a successful run the second time. Okay, so let's see what I've built and how I've built it. Right, first of all, I've used a platforming puppet, but you can use any puppet, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to make this game as a 2D platformer. You could put this in a 3D platformer. This is just, I think, is better for crossing platforms like this if it's in 2D. So you can change this mid-game if you want. There's a power socket here, so you can send power to this, or you can use a keyframe to change this. But this is the toggle that you want on for 2D movement, and that means that puppet is going to walk in this direction only on this axis. So make sure that your platforms are lined up so that he's going to walk on them. If you've got them slightly out of position, then he might jump in front or behind, and that wouldn't work. Right, so we have our puppet. Inside the controller logic, I've got 2 extra gadgets inside. I've put a trigger zone, that's around the puppet, and it's looking for a label of kill. So I went through pressing down on the D-pad until I got to kill, and that is what I've named the floor. So anything that you want to kill your player, you can call kill, and as soon as he touches it, it will kill him. Right, because this wire from detected is going into die in the controller sensor. From here, you've got is dead. So once the player is dead from that die there, it's going to respawn. This is like an instant thing. If you wanted to change this, you would have to put something in between these two. I'll do a tutorial on death animations at a later date. I'm not going to do that in this tutorial. Is dead is then wired into this transmitter, which I've also called dead, into the signal. And that is going to send a signal every time the player is dead. So it will send a pulse out to say I'm dead, and we can use that pulse to reconstruct anything we want to in the game. I've also got a camera here. If I select the camera there, you can see that's the view, and as the player moves into the view of this camera, that's the camera that will take over instead of the one inside the puppet. Right, okay. The columns. This is the part that makes the whole thing work. So first of all, you'll need to design your columns. So you can't really do this afterwards. So design it, paint it, do what you need to it so that it is ready to go. Because we're going to need some copies. So I'm going to make 3 versions of it. So we've got a standard version which doesn't collapse. We've got this one that's going to be cut up, and we've got this one here. Let's just make it a bit smaller. There we go. This one here that's going to act as our cover. So might make that a bit too small. Right. So here is our column, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it up by using the cutout. Make sure your cube is nice and big, and it will take in the whole of the round. L1 square, and using the whole thing as a cut, we'll just cut like this. Again, make sure it's all the way around, and I think it's a good idea to have slanty one at the bottom. There we go. So that's my cut up column. Now at the moment it's not doing anything. If I just turn on by pressing down on R3, you see it's not moving. That's because these are not movable pieces. So we're going to make them movable, and that will make them collapse. So I'm going to put in a keyframe. Make sure you've scoped out. Put the keyframe down. Select all the pieces. Whoops, not that piece. There, there, and there. Go into L1 and square, and by making it movable on one, it will make it movable on all of these. And then press record. There we go. And just to check it out, we'll press keyframe, turn it on with R3, press keyframe, and there you go, it collapses. Right, so we're good. That's exactly what we want. Now we're going to put in a microchip, and I'll stamp that on the top there. Open that up, put our keyframe in. Now we need something that's going to set that keyframe off. I'm going to use a trigger zone. And that's on the top of the column. So I just make that a little bit smaller and stick that on the top of the column. Like that. So when our player is standing on the top there, it's going to set off this trigger zone because it's looking for a possessed controller sensor. Now I don't want it to collapse immediately. I want to give him a chance to jump off. So I'm going to put in a timer. So I'm going from detected to start timer, and then timer finished into the power of our keyframe. Now this is sending a pulse, so I'm going to keep changes on our keyframe so it doesn't just make it move for one frame. It will do it and then continue to do it. Then I'm going to change this timer from 5 seconds, which is the default on there, to 1 second. So after 1 second, this is then going to collapse our keyframe. Now this is our cover, so we're going to make this slightly bigger than our column, and that's going to go there over there. But first of all, I need to create a keyframe that's going to make it invisible because we don't want to see it. So we'll go into there and we'll make that invisible. Press record. And looking at this now, not part of the keyframe, but we want to make this non-collidable as well. We want him to jump onto this column, not that column. So we'll make that non-collidable so it shouldn't affect the player at all. So I'll put that keyframe there and another wire into it. And again, keep changes like so. And let's move this into position like that. And test it out. We haven't got the camera, so it's going to be a bit. There we go. There we are. It collapsed exactly as I wanted it to, but it hasn't reconstructed itself. As you can see, it's still in bits down there. So now we do the reconstruction part. So we need a receiver for that transmitter that we've got in the player. So put that down, and it's looking for. Press down on the D-pad. Dead, and then I'm going to put it in the entire scene because we don't know whereabouts he's going to die. So the entire scene, and then we're going to put the signal in to reset that timer so that we can jump on this again a second time. So that's reset that, and then we need to reset the position and movability and everything of these pieces. So let's just put this over here. So keyframe. I'm going to do the position first. So I'm going to go R2 on there. Try not to move it too much. All you're trying to do is just grab it and then let go until all the pieces are selected like so. Press record. Then we're going to go L1 and X, and then we're going to select all the pieces. L1 and square, and then we're going to go movable and then off. So on and then off again, and you'll see it's like that, and then press record. So So put that on there, and then we need to do the same with this. So we're going to put a keyframe on, and I'm going to make this invisible and then visible, like so, and record. And then I'm going to move this into position like this, and then I'm going to do L1 and X on that keyframe, just R2 just to pick it up like that, and then done. Signal into the keyframe. Right, let's try that out. Hopefully this will work. Whoops, I fell off. It might help, I think, if I if I had this. Let me just move this over, because I got it in the wrong position. But oh, hello, right. There we go. It collapsed. Has it reconstructed? No. I know what I forgot to do. Keep changes. This is why it's always good to test everything. There we are. And make sure you got the keep changes on. Right. Otherwise it only does it for one frame, and then you can see it doesn't work. Right. Collapses. And then reconstructs. Collapses. And reconstructs. There we go. There we are, collapsible columns. Now you can do fancy things with this. You can put in animations as well as just keyframe changes. At the moment, this is a keyframe change. It just disintegrates and falls. You could put in a whole timeline like this, and have this part in there. But beforehand, you could have some movement, so it could start swaying or shuddering or anything you wanted to do within this timeline. You can put some animation in, make it your own effect, so that it does something different, and that just wires it up exactly the same. Make sure this is on once, and that should work really well. And make sure that the dead thing resets the timeline if you're going to use a timeline for some fancy animations. And you can create something, you know, it can do all sorts of weird stuff. It can tip over, it can collapse, it can explode. You can put explosions in there. Anything you want to do. Like I say, I've got it as a keyframe for simplicity, but you could make it more complicated and have more things by using a timeline. But the method is exactly the same. Now that we've built it, it's a good idea to put some sound effects in. So this makes the whole thing come alive. So go into sound mode, go into sound effects. Let's come out of here because I've been in it. So sound effects, collisions, debris. So we want the sound. I used large rocks and rubble. Put that in, and then just put that on. That's on once. You might want to play about with it so it's suitable for your game. You can change the pitch and all sorts of things just to make it uniquely for you. But there we go. That should work. Let's have a look at that. There we go, it collapsed. Now it will continue playing. It will go through the entire sample before it stops, but it will do it every single time. There we go. So you might want to play about with this to get the right sort of sound effect that you want, or the right length, but make sure it's set to once. So there we go. I hope that was useful. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in your dreams.